I'm not telling you this to scare you, merely to inform you. There is a reason we fear the dark. Let me show you.
Bloody Fingers is an entity from Campfire Stories in western Kentucky, USA. The story goes that there was a ratty old motel that prostitutes and their customers frequented. One night, an especially expensive prostitute brought a man to the motel and rented a room. After the deed was done, she told him her price, and he refused to pay. As he was a married man, she threatened to expose him if he didn't pay. The man murdered her, dragged her out to his car, and shoved her in the trunk. Taking her to an unknown location, he chopped her up with a wood-cutting axe and got rid of the body. Over time, the police began to search for her and ended up making a connection with the man in question. Eventually, prints and blood were found on the scene and he was convicted. In exchange for a slightly shorter prison sentence, he told them where the remains were. The police recovered all but the woman's right hand. Thinking the man had taken it for a trophy, they interrogated him for hours and hours to find out where the last piece of her was. He swore over and over he had no idea, and the hand was never found. The man was sent to prison, and that is where the real-world facts end. The legend goes that the spirit of the prostitute was angry over her murder and re-inhabited her disembodied hand, taking off into the night. Of its own accord, the hand returned to the room where she was murdered and hid in the closet. The first time a man stayed the night in the motel room alone, it emerged and strangled him to death. As there was nothing else to grab onto, the hand waited for another victim, and then another, and then another. Years passed, always the same story and murder description, different motel rooms from the same motel, but local gossip and stories began to form, calling the creature Bloody Fingers, because the red stains and bruising that were left on the victims' throats. They thought it was a serial killer, but there was never any evidence for it, and the bruising patterns were always too small to be some strong-armed man. Killing man after man, Bloody Fingers grew not only in power, but also strangely enough in size. Harvesting the life energy of the men it killed in the hotel room over the years, it became enormous. Some say stretching large enough to fill the entire doorway of the motel closets. The only warning the men staying in the room would get would be a faint scratching on the closet door, along with a short chant. Bloody fingers, bloody fingers. It would whisper to them when the lights were out. Then, after the victim had gone to bed, the massive disembodied hand would bodily grab them and drag them into darkness beyond the closet door, never to be seen again. After reaching optimal size and power, Bloody Fingers, the story goes, went to the prison where its killer resided. Under the cover of darkness, it shrank back to its original size to compress its power, got into the man's cell, and then crushed his neck with all the force that it had gathered up from the other murders over the years. With its killer dead, it fled back to the motel room. Police found the man dead inside his cell and the rather small bruising pattern of a young woman's hand and nails around his neck. Bloody Fingers was not sated with the death of its killer and still resides in the closets of dirty old motel rooms around Kentucky to this day, scratching on the closet doors and chanting its warning to any men staying in the rooms alone. Bloody Fingers, Bloody Fingers. It is said that Bloody Fingers can be placated for a single night with an offering. Placing an unopened box of bandages at the base of a cracked closet door makes the monster give pause. Even a simple store brand is good enough. Putting the bandages to an unknown use given its enormous size, it will spare the motel room's occupant for a single night. A small act of kindness is returned with safety as long as the man in question does not linger. However, both knowing about and knowing what to do about Bloody Fingers is certainly not a prerequisite that many men meet.